The International Atomic Energy Agency's team, led by Rafael Grossi, has been visiting the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant to assess damage there from shelling. Grossi, who is the head of the UN's nuclear watchdog, says the physical integrity of the Russian-occupied nuclear plant in Ukraine has been violated, he says, several times.
We are finishing our long-awaited visit to the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. I have just completed a first tour of the key areas that we wanted to see in this first approach to the whole facility. Of course, there is a lot more to do. My team is staying on, and more importantly, and most importantly, we are establishing a continued presence from the IAEA here.
Well, Russian media is reporting that 2 inspectors from the IAEA will stay at the power plant permanently. Ukraine's state nuclear company says it would be difficult for the IAEA to make an impartial assessment of the situation because of what it says is Russian interference. The nuclear regulator says the mission has not been allowed to enter the plant's crisis centre, where Ukraine says that Russia has stationed troops. Now, President Volodymyr Zelensky has directly criticised the IAEA mission, saying the watchdog hasn't yet called for the demilitarisation of the plant.
Demilitarization of the territory of the station is the goal of the Ukrainian and international efforts. And it is bad that we have not yet heard the appropriate messages from the IAEA, despite the fact that we talked about it with Mr. Grossi during our meeting in Kiev. It was the key security point of our agreements. It was outlined clearly. Demilitarization and full control by our nuclear workers.
He also accuses Russia of not letting independent media visit.
Коли ми бачились з паном Гросі і членами місії у Києві,
when we met with Mr. Grossi and members of the mission in Kiev, we agreed that the mission will be accompanied by journalists from Ukrainian and international media, so that the world can see what is really going on. It was not done, although promised.
Well, one of the 2 reactors at the plant has been forced to shut by shelling before the visit started. Plant officials now say that they are trying to restart it. Well, we're joined now by Yehor Brailian, a journalist from Kiev who covers international security and defence cooperation with regards to Ukraine. Thanks very much for being with us. How is this IAEA visit being viewed inside Ukraine?
I will say that we hope that the International Atomic Energy Agency will help Ukraine to demilitarize the territory of Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. However, we saw that the Russian occupiers didn't allow the Ukrainian and national journalists to visit the plant, and so the main solution of this problem, as for me, is to sanction Russia and to say that only Russia is responsible for all the actions in Energodar and especially in the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Because Russia is the permanent member of Security Council of the United Nations, and Russia is still a member of some very agreements regarding nukes. And we hope that Rafael Grossi and his team will call the right terms for what Russia is doing now in Energodar. Because we have seen from the United Nations representatives that it's a common challenge for the both sides, but we we understand it very clearly that only Russia is the problem and the challenge, because Russia invaded Ukraine and Russia is committing war crimes on our territory. So we hope in Ukraine that Grossi and his team will name finally that only Russia is responsible for their actions and not Ukraine, because it's not Ukraine is bombing Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. It's not Ukraine militarizing the region. It's not Ukraine. It's a nuclear terrorist. It's only Russia.
And explain to us, just put it in context for us, how important the Zaporizhzhia plant is for power supplies and for Ukraine itself.
The Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant is the biggest NPP in Europe, and from it we get almost a half of electricity for Ukrainian households, as well as Ukraine importing electricity in Europe. And when Ukraine joined the electricity energy system of the EU in March, so it will be harder for Russia to cut off the plant from Ukrainian energy system and to get the electricity for the occupied Crimea and for Russia itself. So this nuclear power plant is so important, but at the same time we don't need to be so afraid because of radiation, and there is a main challenge to tell people what to do in the case of emergency. But we still don't know what will happen next time. So, and that is the main challenge for Ukraine.
Okay, thank you, Yehiel Brailan. Thank you very much indeed.